Do you hate getting scammed at car dealerships? Then why are you going to their service department? Since 2011, I've been teaching you about scams inside of a car dealership, but I've never went to the back of the car dealership and to the service department, because that's where all the big scams actually happen. And you have to remember this: every single person that you come in contact with that has something to do with servicing, either you're buying a car, you're servicing a car, you're buying parts, every single one of those people are commissioned salespeople. So obviously someone like myself, who is a salesperson at a dealership, definitely is on commission. That person that you check your car in with, the service writer, they are on commission. The mechanic that is working on your car, they are on commission. So you better believe it, when your car is inside the service department at any place in this country, they are looking to make a commission on you. That's why I wanted to do these 5 things that you could get scammed on in the service department, because the service writers and the technicians, who again are commissioned salespeople, are banking on that you don't know. You take their professional advice and you just move on, and it lines their pocket. First thing I want to talk about is unnecessary services. And these services you don't typically need to do on your car, but what you need to do is ensure that you read your owner's manual. Nobody reads their owner's manual. I get it. It's the most boring book in the world unless you're looking for something specific, but you need to understand what the manufacturer is recommending and only do what the manufacturer suggests. And stuff that they don't say to do is a coolant flush. Don't need to do those coolant flushes until they tell you to do so at maybe 150,000+ miles. Fuel system cleaners, don't need to do it. Transmission flushes, don't need to do it. And matter of fact, if you do a transmission flush, it actually could bring harm to your transmission, and you can ask pretty much any good mechanic out there that they say, don't change the transmission fluid because it could bring some harm. And I'm telling you, I've seen it happen a lot. Power steering fluid flush, I see that very common at car dealerships all over the place. And then also the engine flush. It's things that you don't need to do unless there is a problem with the car. And that's the key caveat to that, is unless there's a problem, don't do it. And where you may have probably heard of that scam before, you probably haven't heard of our next one. But first, I want to tell you about this massive data breach that just hit, this time over 73 million records at a major cell phone carrier. And why do they want this information? Because scammers are targeting victims with sophisticated text messages just like that. And that's why I'm a firm believer of having 𝘊𝘳 in your back pocket, which is today's video sponsor. 𝘊𝘳 is an all-in-one app that uses AI to protect your finances and your identity. 𝘊𝘳 will also monitor the dark web for your personal information that has been leaked through these data breaches or stolen by scammers. Just like when they found my social security number on the dark web. It then alerts you within minutes if someone tries to open a credit card or a loan in your name, or if they're using unusual transactions being made, like someone buying large amounts of gift cards. 𝘊𝘳 will also remove your personal information from these data brokers and people's search sites where scammers can easily find it. As I've shown you in the past, 𝘊𝘳 has a whole other suite of tools like password manager, parental controls, and they even have a 24/7 customer support number when you use my link on the screen. You can try 𝘊𝘳 for free by using the link in the description or type it into the browser, and you get 14 days to see if it's right for you. And with that being said, another scam that car dealers do is the big one that I actually learned a couple years ago that makes a lot of sense, and my buddy Rich, who's off camera, brought this up to me, and that's actually turning your rotors. And we did it at Bachman, right? They had this big lathe, they would do it, and I never understood it because I wasn't spending the money like I do now here at Mike's Car Store. Rotors were huge expensive in the 80s and 90s, and that's where this all came from, because it did cut down on cost when you did brakes. Well, they aren't now, because now I can buy a set of rotors for about 50 bucks a piece per rotor, or maybe $100 a piece. And the only reason why you would want to turn a rotor in the past was because of the expense. And when I say turning rotor, I'm not saying you flip it over, or you turn it counterclockwise, or you turn it clockwise. I'm talking about these big machines that you have to buy in the service department to shave off some of the metal to make it smooth again. Again, rotors are 50 to 100 bucks a piece. They're not very expensive out there. So the only purpose of this is one thing, and that's for the service writer and the technician, mechanic. They are wanting to turn repair order hours, RO hours. And if they get the more RO hours they get, the more money they get. So that's the only reason they're doing it, because installing a rotor is maybe like a 0.5 of an hour or so. And so they only get 0.5, where they may get 1.5 or 1 hour of labor time by turning your rotor. So it's not saving you any money by doing those things. The next one is small maintenance items. A lot of these items you can do for yourself, but you guys are paying big money to mechanics and service advisors just for no reason at all. So I came out to this Avalon here that we just got, because every car we do here at the car store, we change out the cabin air filter, we change out the engine air filter, and they like to over exaggerate on what they do. And I have audio proof of this later in the video, but literally this is how long it takes to change an air filter. And this air filter cost me $30. And I guess I don't need it. I guess I don't need an air filter on this one. No lie. Look, this is the air filter for that. It's brand new. I don't need to replace it. But if I did, this is all I've got to do. Like, it takes this long. No games, no gimmicks. There's no sprays to put in here or anything like that. And just like that, it's on and it's no problem. So don't pay for these service departments to give you very little maintenance items like this. Cabin air filters, there's videos all over YouTube. I mean, I'm a certified YouTube mechanic, right? I know what I'm talking about. There's videos like this all over the area. Batteries can be tricky, but it's something that you can just go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and get and put in yourself and not pay the dealership big labor to do it. The next big one is scare tactics or lying to get you to do repairs. And the biggest one that I have seen in the past is like oil leaks, right? They'll tell you there's oil leaks. They don't tell you that there's actually 4 types of oil leaks. It's weep, seek, leak, and puke is what I call it. So weep is an all-in like and I gotta come back laughing because our mechanic is in here and he thought that was pretty good of weep, seek, leak, and puke. And so weep is an all-in breathing up, but it's not dripping, right? Seep is moisture in the area and it hasn't dripped as well. So there's not much difference between those two, but there is a big difference that they'll show you stuff and get you to do it. Leak is a wet area that has dripped a little bit, maybe when you have parked or you shut that engine off. And puke is oil leaks when there's bad enough when you drive and it's blowing backwards due to the airflow underneath the vehicle, and it drips every single time when your vehicle is parked. And puke is definitely a fire hazard, so you want to make sure you get that taken care of. So I wouldn't be concerned as a consumer for weep and seek. As a dealer, I do fix those when we think that it's relevant. If a rear main seal's just seeping, not gonna fix that, it's a huge job. But hey, if an oil pan is weeping or seeping, hey, that's pretty simple to do. Valve cover gasket, that's another one that's really simple to do. I even did one myself a couple of times. So you need to inspect this yourself. Have them show you in person or have them do a video. Pictures are not good enough, and I've got to tell you, always get a second opinion. So talking about the scare tactics or lying, we had an instant where a local alignment shop with a major tire company called me to let me know that we had some play in some control arms. Now, the mechanic who's here is off screen, looked at this vehicle himself and did not bring these concerns up to me. So that was a red flag automatically, because Rich, who our mechanic, is working on Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, McLarens, just all sorts of crazy, wild vehicles here at the dealership. And I knew this was pretty false and I had confidence it was false, but I told him just to align the vehicle. Just get it done. We've got this vehicle sold. It's going to Wisconsin and we don't want to do anything else. They doubled down on that and told me that their company policy wouldn't allow them to align it. And I said, fine, just give me the vehicle back. We rechecked it once it got here, and I'd have to say that there's either no play or just maybe a teensy-weensy little bit. And none of that was a big deal to sell that car. So we were over exaggerating a lot by that service facility, and I never have went back to them, and it's also why I own my tire machine now. And some of the easy upsells that they'll over exaggerate on are brakes and tires. So these are easy upsells because they are quote unquote safety. And a good rule of thumb on brakes is 3 millimeters of pad thickness. In front brakes, you're gonna get anywhere from 50 to 100,000 miles. I like to tell everyone 70 to 100,000 is my experience. And the back brakes, man, those things can last you forever, 200K plus miles in some cases. So keep that in mind with what your odometer is on your car, and obviously your driving habits are a huge deal. And with tires, you can buy a tire gauge on Amazon for $4 and check that yourself, and all those tire gauges have a green, yellow, and red indicator, but anything under 430 seconds on most passenger tires, you'll need to replace them. And number 5 is time theft. This is a huge thing all across the industry at dealerships or independent shops, because you have no way to check if they're being truthful or not, but I'm gonna tell you what you can do. So recently we just sold a Volkswagen Passat TDI to a gentleman in Georgia. Of course, something happens after he leaves. It's not that big of a deal. We're gonna fix it for him, but he had to go to a service facility to do that. And any time that a dealership or an independent shop sees a temp tag on a car, they know darn well that I'm gonna get pencil whipped, and they're gonna try to take me over the coals, and I'm the wrong person to do that with. But at the end of the day, they did a full inspection on this car, and they hit the customer with a $5,000 bill. So $5,032.35. So you can imagine that my customer kind of hit the ceiling, and I reassured him that we just did a 172-point inspection, and 600 miles later, nothing of this stuff is happening, but it is what it is. So one of the first things that they hit me with is, I asked them what their labor rate was, and that's $169.50. So, and you got to remember that service writer and that mechanic are commissioned salespeople. So the more RO hours that are turned on a repair order, the more they get paid. And what really threw me for a loop is when I got this bill and they hit me with a $1,300 starter for a car. And I'm like, what? And then I look at the labor and it was $847.50. And they just said,
there must have been a fat finger there, because I just printed this off for him, and I can send you this too. It's $423.75.
Yeah, a fat finger. Yeah, that's it. Now imagine if that customer says, hey, listen, I'm in desperate need of my car. This is the only car I gotta get to work tomorrow. Just fix it, right? They just screwed that customer over because of a fat finger. No, only the reason that got cheaper is because I challenged them. And here's where I called them out on the time theft, because I looked up in the AllData, which is the #1 thing out there that gets their information directly from the manufacturer, telling you exactly how much time to charge. They were actually charging the customer 1.1 hours more than what they should have, which actually turned out to be about $180. And if you have multiple repairs and they're doing that on multiple repairs, now how much is that costing you that you're just flushing away down the drain because they are simply lying to you? And this is what they said when I called them out.
I mean, the reality is like anybody else, book labor time is a suggested labor time.
I've been doing this for 24 years and never heard a suggested time. So.
Well, I mean, the reality is in certain scenarios, let me give you an instance, right? I also charge to put in air filters here. The reality is there's a reason why, right? When we open the air filter housing, we don't just pop a filter in it. We actually grab our shop vac, we clean out all the leaves. No different than a cabin air filter, right? Charge labor to put that in where most people don't. We also spray with an antimicrobial freshener. We make sure everything goes back together. And being a European garage, and I don't know what you work on specifically, taking your time and making sure you don't. Yeah, well, that's great.
I would cry too.
Yeah, I just looked up AllData and Mitchell, both 1.4.
Yeah, so with AllData, I'm sure you know since you've been in it for a while that AllData is also an average labor time. It is not a set labor time.
Wait a second. Did he just say average labor time? It's not a set time? Excuse me. Excuse me right now. Let me call your bullshit on that, because average labor time has nothing to do with anything in my 24 years of this business. If I am a good mechanic and I've been doing this for a long time and I'm specializing in this repair and I can get it done faster than the labor time, I've earned that right to be paid for an hour when I can finish something in 20 minutes. Now, let's take on the flip side that I'm a bad mechanic or I'm new to the game and it takes me 2 hours. I'm not gonna be able to go to the customer and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm kind of new at this and I'm learning. I know it's only supposed to be 1 hour of labor time, but it took me 2 hours, so we're gonna have to charge you an extra $169.50 because of my incompetence. It's not gonna happen. Just like you can't say, hey, it only took you 20 minutes, so charge me 20 minutes. It's not gonna happen. It doesn't work out either way for or against the customer or the dealership. Labor times are not suggested times. Labor times are published times that do not deviate. And to say that I was a little triggered over it, you can kind of see in my tone, weeks after this happened, I'm a little triggered over it. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this video. And I think the best way for you to check on labor time theft is simply showing them what the labor time is, because they can print it out in their all data, in their Mitchell time, whatever book they use, they can actually print that out. And I would ask them to print out the labor time so that you can see it and you can do the calculations on your own.